guys, so what we're going to do is first we're going to observe the power supply. If you have a console big like this, you know the power supply is pretty heavy. It has fuses on it, and you know, for our purposes and what we're going to do, none of that's really relevant. We just want to make sure that it works. If I plug this in, this will light up. And I want to show you the back of it. This is the back of the power supply. And on my left-hand side, this is a standard power, 3-prong power that you plug into your wall, and the other end of it plugs into the power supply. And on this end, this looks like an XLR connection, but it's really not. It has 4 pins. Not 3 like an XLR, it has 4 pins. If you can see that, it looks like an XLR cable, but it's really not. It has 4 pins, not 3. That's the male side, that's the female side. And the male side is the side that plugs into here, your power supply. The female side will plug into the console. We're going to use a voltmeter to test open and closed circuits. We're not going to use the power supply, but we're going to use the power supply cable. Okay? So let's go ahead and plug that in the back of the console, and we're going to hook up our test cable on the other end. Okay, so now I've plugged the other end of this cable, which is the power supply, which this end gets connected to our power supply, which we talked about before. This end of our cable I'm going to hook up to our voltmeter. Now this testing process requires us not to plug in the console. We do not want to plug it in while we're sticking our hands in here and get electrocuted. We don't want to do that. So this part of our test requires us not to plug the console in. So what we're going to do is we have the other end of this plugged in to the back of the console, and what we want to do is test the connectivity of one of these pins to this strip. This is the power supply coming into the console. The power supply has to power this strip and all the rest of them. So there has to be a connection from here into here. We don't know whether it's here or in this little table of connections sitting here at the bottom of the console. And that's what we're going to test to find out. So now I'm going to use my voltmeter, which is here, and we're going to put it into connection mode. And depending on what voltmeter you have, every voltmeter does this, has a mode where you can tell if the circuit is open or closed. And generally, here's my red and my black wire. If I touch them together, the voltmeter will beep. Like that. That means my connection is closed, and when you don't hear it beep, it's obviously open. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to test the circuitry between the point of the power supply entering into the board to our power strip. And again, we don't know where that is. Could be this cable, or this panel of pins on the bottom here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to use our alligator clips, connecting them to one of our voltmeter connection. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative for this purpose. Okay? Then we're going to choose a pin, and we have 4 pins inside our, let's call, looks like XLR connection, but not quite. It's 4 pins. And if you look closely in them, all the pins are labeled 1 to 4. And all the things that you do, you want to definitely write down, because we're going to be doing a lot of testing to figure out those 4 things we talked about earlier. Power supply, input output, and bypass the fader. So now we have our alligator clip on pin 1 inside our power, entering the board, and let's just touch them. And I always do this quick test just to make sure everything's working by bridging these 2 together and hearing it beep. I know it's working. So now we're going to start testing these pins. We'll start with this one first. Okay? You can see we have some open wiring here. So let's just go ahead and start touching them. Nothing. 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 Okay. That's probably not it. We'll go here as well again, and you can see we also have some exposed metal here or wiring. Let's go ahead and start testing them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, we got a connection there. Maybe this is our power supply. Okay, so we need to mark that down from this cable. Pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is connection. Okay, we now know that our power comes in on pins 7, 8, and 9 according to our wiring strip, and we'll do a hard test of that later on.